Hey, and welcome to this week's Inbound Debate. As always, on my left I'm joined by Nick Pateman, and on my right, the beautiful Dan Holt. And this week we are talking about AdBlock. Now, for those of you who don't know what AdBlock is, essentially you can install a plugin on your browser and it blocks every advert that you see. Well, pretty much about 99% of adverts. It's recently gained a lot of popularity because it allows you to watch free content without those pesky adverts getting in the way. When you watch a YouTube video, there's always kind of a YouTube video ad beforehand. You install AdBlock, it removes it. So for a lot of people, it's really useful because adverts have become a big part of the internet over the last few years. But the question I want to ask you guys to start off with is, with AdBlock working so well, is it killing a free internet? I.e., because the content providers make their money from adverts and you're essentially viewing their content without viewing the adverts, is it killing that part of the internet? Nick?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a real shame. It's actually really, I think, quite a serious issue, and one that a lot of people kind of don't really sort of understand. I don't think. I think you see adverts, you think, oh right, they're annoying me. Like, get out of the way. Like, why need? Most adverts are unoffensive. Like, they're just sitting in the corner generating website money because you're like taking their content. And to me, it feels like a bit of a kind of piracy, basically. Like you're stealing their content because that content it is free, but at the same time they're not going to be able to provide that if you're not generating ad revenue. So yeah, for me, I actually think this is quite a serious issue. We've had piracy in the past with like movie piracy, music piracy. I think Netflix and iTunes have done quite a bit to get around that by just providing very accessible movies and music. But now, like this, I don't really see a way around it. I think if a lot of people adopt it, I really do think it will kill the internet.
I think we're being a little bit melodramatic. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I do think it's a very, very worrying trend. There was a company who did a study into this, and I think the figure they arrived at, it affected something like the 200 sites they studied, it affected something like 22.7% or so. But bearing in mind that it was a little bit like the whole Twitter data logic study, this was a company that actually, its service is all about getting around this whole issue. So obviously it's in their interest to have data that seems quite high. AdBlock, I've seen figures of 50 million and 80 million in terms of the overall customer base, which is about just under 3% of the total kind of internet users worldwide. But I imagine for certain websites, particularly certain American websites targeting certain kinds of demographic, it must be making a real dent. I mean, have you noticed it affect your network at all?
Not our network, but what I would say is, the thing I find interesting about it is people justify it because they go on a website and they get loads and loads of pop-ups and adverts and click-overs, but they're trying to get this free content and they're like, well, I don't want that. Yeah. But the thing is, don't use that website and go to their competitor. Like, as in, it should be like, rather than just removing the advert, and then it will create a level.
The issue I see is that people can easily get this software. It's not illegal. There's no connotations to using it. It's not like piracy where actually you are dabbling in some dodgy areas. AdBlock, you can install it in your browser in 3 minutes, and you just get rid of all your ads. So you never have to go through you won't have to go watch something for 10 seconds for a video. There's absolutely no reason why you wouldn't get it if you knew about it.
I mean, going through, like, just back to your original point, one thing I would say is I know that the gaming niche has a lot of trouble with this.
Yeah. I think it's worth saying that there is software that you can use to actually, like, as a webmaster, to actually block content to those people that are using AdBlock. But the problem is that then AdBlock then update theirs to get around that software, and you end up with this cat and mouse game. So I think, in my opinion, I don't object to the kind of underlying cause. I think, if AdBlock say they're trying to make the internet a better place with better quality adverts, the problem with that is A, who the hell made them judge and juror, and B, actually, even for those websites that comply to their guidelines, if you're a big enough website, you're actually going to have to pay for it anyway. And in fact, apparently, nearly 20 companies have already paid, including remarkably Google, which personally I think is absolutely just stunning. But I also think that they are taking on the biggest kind of corporate Goliaths in the world. I can't see there not being a backlash. I don't see this trend continuing.
Well, if you look at the internet market and the ad market at the moment, it's really unregulated. So because this is so unregulated, we're probably going to see regulation come in regarding this.
Yeah, maybe. Just first of all, I don't generate any revenue through advertising, so I'm not biased in any sense. I don't believe, but I think with AdBlock, they're actually running this massive media campaign at the moment where they're trying to get $150,000 of donations so they can run a 2-page spread in the New York Times. and that's like a bit worrying. They've already made 50 grand. From
also enormously ironic. Obviously.
Yeah, and they do highlight the fact they are advertising together.
It's a brilliant
campaign. And it's
very,
really
very
like that. Yeah, and if it works, like I do think that there are some issues that are going to come out of it.
That's what really worried me when I saw the story that they were raising money to advertise AdBlock. I just think to the standard person, it's a done deal. As in, like, why wouldn't you use it?
I would love to see like the big company. Yeah, there's going to be a big divide between big sites and small sites. Small sites just die
well,
out.
The small sites, as long as they comply, won't have to pay anything. That's the difference.
Yeah. Well, what I'd love to see is people like Facebook and Twitter and big media outlets getting together and actually blocking people from using AdBlock. That's quite a big thing to say, but you can't get small sites blocking people from using AdBlock because they would just lose their traffic.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got the big names whose traffic actually just really want to see the site adverts or not, they'll be forced to disable the plugin.
Absolutely. And guys, because there's so many adverts all over the internet, if you could block one advert that you've seen for the rest of your life, which would it be, Dan?
I'd block every perfume ad that's ever been made. Also, as well, probably
perfume ads.
Probably a lot of perfume ads. Yeah. That one with Brad Pitt early in the year, nearly claw my eyes out. But probably the ad that's done the most damage to me was when I saw Nick Pateman's extreme 8-week weight loss plan.
Nearly pretty extreme.
8 weeks of edamame beans and sugar-free Red Bull.
It works, man. It worked like a dream. I don't really have one. I think the one that annoys me the most is these like push notifications I keep getting from my gym. That I keep meaning to cancel, and every time I get an email, a text from them, I just want to go cancel it. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to.
For me, it's the ones which kick you while you're down. Like, so you've just broken up with your girlfriend, and you're on Facebook. And Facebook's noticed that you've just gone from in a relationship to single, and the first advert that you get is like lonely and single ? And you're like, I don't need this Facebook. Like, I definitely removed them. Yeah, I know, it's really harsh. But it gets the click-throughs. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us this week. As always, this has been the Inbound Debate, and we'll see you next week.